welcome to Afterthoughts. This is a recommend or refute episode where we are going to tell you something we watched recently and either recommend it or refute it. Dixon, we got a little off the rails previously. John, we got to get back. It's like we talk about something and then we recommend or refute it. We each get one and we make a decision.
Agreed. I'm 100%.
Not on the fence. We're back in the game. Head in the game, John. We're back on it.
That's right. I'm not recommending or refuting or recommending and refuting anything this episode.
Okay. Yes, these joining us as we try to get back to sanity, Michael Dixon.
What's up, guys? I'm back from Italy, and I've had a good break, and I'm prepared to deal with all your horse shit.
Yes. Yeah. Also, John Garcia.
Hey. Happy to have Dixon back. You know, I missed him. I left him a long voicemail about how rude he is for not answering his phone. But now he's back. So, you know, no more hijinks from us right now until one of us goes off, I guess, onto our own vacation. Then we can do all the pranks you want, Dixon. We got to plan it.
Yeah. Yes. And I am your host, Ryan King. I guess, yeah, now going forward, are we calling whoever's not there during the podcast and leaving them a message, I guess.
That really needs to, well, if they're brought up, I feel like it's natural to do that. And also depending upon how drunk we are.
Yeah. Let's somewhat soberly talk about what we have recently watched. Dixon, you want to start us off?
Sure. So last night at Austin Film Society, I went to a screening of Don Hertzfeldt's new film, Paper Trail. If you're not familiar with Don Hertzfeldt, he is an independent animated filmmaker. He kind of came on the indie animated scene when he made Rejected in the late 1990s, which was like a viral YouTube video. It started out as, you know, it was animated film shot on film, and, you know, it was kind of like on midnight screenings as a short film before other movies or as part of short film programs. But if you're familiar with that movie, or if you're wondering if you've seen it, you will recognize the phrase, "My spoon is too big." But if you haven't, you won't know what I'm talking about. But he makes kind of these zany comedic short films that he started out, like Rejected and other of his earlier works are very comedic, very crudely drawn, but really creatively animated, and you know, pretty silly movies. And then kind of as he developed as a filmmaker, he started making these introspective, profound films that still are very crudely drawn. And I think it's a really interesting kind of juxtaposition of the animation and the concepts that it's dealing with. Not to say it's not beautifully animated, but it's like stick figures that are, you know, going through events in their daily lives. And sometimes there's really interesting background animation with those stick figures, and sometimes it's pretty simple. But I've really loved everything that I've ever seen from Don Hertzfeldt. He made the World of Tomorrow series of short films. He made It's Such a Beautiful Day. If you're familiar with any of those, that may be what you know him for. But his recent film, Paper Trail, I don't really want to give too much away about it, but I'll just say that it's an interesting kind of high concept film. It's pretty short. It's only about 10 minutes, and he introduced it by saying that he really loves films from the 80s like Koyaanisqatsi that are trying to tell a narrative through different ways that are unconventional, and where you're watching, like, you know, at Koyaanisqatsi, you're watching a series of clips of kind of destruction of real estate and other things, but they're building a story that you're getting that is not really clear, you know, when you're watching any given scene, but you kind of get the story after you've watched it. And he was inspired by that to make Paper Trail. And all I'll say is if you like Hertzfeldt, you should seek it out. It's not really out yet. This was kind of a pre-screening before. I assume it'll be launched on his website, bitterfilms.com, where most of his stuff comes out. But when he tends to do these screenings occasionally in Austin when he has a new movie coming out. He lives here in town, and he'll come to Austin Film Society, show his new film, and then he's like, well, you know, that was only, you know, 10 to 30 minutes. So he usually does a Q&A, and then he shows some of his older work afterwards. So it's a fun experience, and you get to go to theater for 2 hours, feel like you're getting your money's worth, and see his new work and some of his older stuff. You also may know him from The Simpsons. He did a couch gag, which is the weirdest fucking Simpsons couch gag that has ever been done, with kind of like blob Simpsons, morphed Simpsons figures just screaming horrible things. Yeah. So the I guess before I get into too much, I want to talk about the World of Tomorrow films. But I know, John, you're familiar with Hertzfeldt. Ryan, have you seen any of his stuff?
I would actually think like 2 months ago, I challenged the kids to put on Rejected without any audio, and I did all the audio myself from memory.
Did they have a great time?
That was a very important movie to me in my life.
That's really funny. I remember seeing Rejected first when I was in college, and somebody in the dorm showed it to me, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, did this really happen? He's like, oh yeah, this guy submitted all these cartoons to this advertising agency. And I was just like, there's no way that's real. That's not what's happening here.
I definitely saw it when I was in high school, and I was way more susceptible to believe that actually happened. And then I was like, oh, it was just a gag. Oh, okay, that's fucking great. But it took me years to realize that.
I haven't watched any of his other stuff, but I do. There is a very special place in my heart for Rejected.
I would love his other stuff. I've actually been thinking about maybe doing Hertzfeldt on the podcast in a legit episode. He had a series of short films that he then cut into a feature-length film, being like 61 minutes long, called "It's Such a Beautiful Day," that I think is this like really profound film that would be fun to do on the podcast at some point. But the World of Tomorrow series of short films, there are 3 of them. He says there will be more, but he's now made 2 movies since World of Tomorrow Part 3. And in the Q&A, he said he's working on a feature-length film with Ari Aster, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, interesting.
So, interesting to see what will come of that. But he still really much likes to work independently and on his own. So he kind of was saying he's working on that, but he hates production meetings and having to work with other people and all these things. But World of Tomorrow, the first one is just called World of Tomorrow.
Hello, Emily.
It is about a 5 or 6 year old, maybe even younger than that, maybe like 4-year-old girl who is voiced by his niece, and he just kind of picked up random, recordings of things his niece said and made that the basis for this film. It's about 17 minutes long. It's stick figures, but very high concept. A lot of fascinating, colorful animation behind and around those stick figures. But it opens with this little girl kind of playing with her toy cars in front of her TV. And all of a sudden, this image appears before her of this adult woman who says that she is the girl's name Emily. She says that I am a clone of you in a future life. And basically in the future, as people get older, they create clones of themselves and then download their consciousness into that clone, and then the clone will keep living on their life so they can keep extending their lives. However, they will create backup clones to store information, and sometimes those clones end up living out their own lives in a weird separate way, and like the backup or the future generation clones, the more you go down the stream of clones, the more fucked up they get, and they like lose motor function and different things. So there's a lot of funny comedic stuff that they do with that. But basically this future generation Emily clone comes to talk to Emily as a kid, and she begins to tell her all about her life, and she's kind of confused as to what in her life is something that she actually did versus what is a memory of a previous version of Emily that has been downloaded into her. And she's kind of trying to piece those things apart. And the main reason she's come to see Emily is that she has forgotten a memory from childhood that she needs to like download from the first version of Emily to be able to remember a moment from her childhood again. But it's a very fascinating movie. It sets up all of these crazy concepts in the span of 17 minutes and all this crazy batshit animation where you have, there's experimental time travel has been invented, which is how this clone is coming back to talk to the first version of Emily. But it's really expensive. And so like a lot of poor people want to time travel because the world sucks and they want to get out of that time, but they can't do it right because it's like if you're doing the cheap version, you might get put into the wrong time, or you might miscalculate the turning of the earth and end up on a different part of the earth, or way out into space, or buried in the ground, and all these different scenarios that can happen when you try to time travel. But the future is just populated by all of these clones who don't really know. They're all struggling to find purpose with their lives because they're not their own original people. And it's kind of about humanity's efforts to achieve immortality, kind of like the tragedy of man, where we're just trying to hold on as long as we can. They talk about how some people we can't afford to put grandpa into a clone, so we just upload his consciousness into some hard drive somewhere, and we just feed him new movies once a week to just give him something to do. But it's really hard to describe. You kind of have to experience Hertzfeldt's films to really get the profound nature of them and these crazy high concepts. But each successive World of Tomorrow film talks more about these clones and these backup copies' lives and how they're trying to find meaning in their own way and live in this weird, fucked up future world with a strange economy. And there's all these crazy ideas that come from it. But at the end of the day, at the Q&A, one of the audience members asked Hertzfeldt, he's like, I feel like one of your main theme of your movies is to just you need to learn to appreciate life now because we're all going to die. And that seems to be the main thing that you're trying to push in all your films. And Hertzfeldt was like, yeah, I guess, I don't really think too much about what I'm trying to say. He's like, I never really analyze it too much. I get too caught up in the actual animation and the execution to really think too hard about the ideas behind it, which I thought was interesting because it seems like he's putting so much thought into these concepts, and I'm sure he is, but it's just when you animate, it's so tedious and you get so bogged down in the actual execution that you aren't through the course of making it aren't thinking about those big ideas as much, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, I think everything that Hertzfeldt has done, I've really loved. If you haven't seen his stuff, World of Tomorrow is a great entry point. I mean, Rejected is an incredible entry point, but it's not necessarily on the same wavelength as some of his later stuff. But if you like Rejected and you want to watch some of his later stuff, I think World of Tomorrow is a very good point to start, where it's only 17 minutes long. It's still funny. He has a great sense of humor that, from Rejected, that goes forward into his other films, where he has really funny moments, really stupid and violent moments that are funny, but they don't detract from the more kind of thoughtful, profound ideas that he has in his films. So, John, I know that I've shown you at least episodes 1 and 2 of World of Tomorrow, but you have anything to add to your thoughts there?
I mean, I know we had a Hertzfeldt night where we watched everything that was available to us then. And since then,
we watched 1 and 2 in May. I think it was before 3 came out, but then we also watched
3.
It's Such a Beautiful Day.
It's Such a Beautiful Day. Yeah, we watched that. And the one thing that I'm always impressed with is Hertzfeldt's ability to transform the simplistic nature of his animation. You see it and you're like, that's so simple and obvious in kind of the way that it's done. But in his orchestration of those stick figure people and mixing that with all of his high concept, it kind of becomes baffling how he's able to do it. It feels like watching a magic trick, because I could go, I could be one of those snooty, snobby people and be like, I could do that. Let me just go and animate some stick figures. And I would go and try to do it and then come out and be like, this isn't it. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know how did he do this? It really does seem like there's kind of effortlessness to the way that it comes out, but I know there's a lot of heart and soul that Hertzfeldt puts into it. So I would say like that's kind of, my ringing endorsement for his style and his creative voices. He's able to pull that off and make it look easy in a way that your brain, kind of breaks your brain. And I love that about his work. And it makes me want to go back to it all the time. But yeah, Rejected, like the end of Rejected is insane when like all the paper starts to like crumble up and destroy and there's stuff like being drawn everywhere. It's such a beautiful chaos. And I feel like he's always pushing himself to try something different in whatever version of the medium he's working in. Like he's bringing in more color, and it's been a while since I've seen World of Tomorrow. I definitely want to go back and watch it now that you're bringing it up, but I do remember there being like certain film grain texture or some other kind of like overlays. I remember there being like sort of like light leak and other coloring in it that seemed like it was very intentional, but also could have easily been like, oh, accidentally something happened to the paper at this point and Hertzfeldt just went with it. And I'll never know. And that's kind of the mystery of it. But it starts to lead me to think more of his work is as intentional as it can be. And that's what he's focused on. That might be why he's like, I don't think as much about what I put into the story, because every other aspect of it is like so well thought out and massaged in. But yeah, that's my additional thoughts on that.
Yeah, Rejected is something that feels so loose and slapped together, but is meticulously created. Like it to actually pull off something that's like non sequitur, some of the timings, the little setups that are in there in these just seconds of gags. Like he's able to go in so quick, set up a gag, pay off the gag, move to the next thing, like expertly. But it does look like it's like childish and crap and put together, but it is really, amazing how well packed it is.
Yeah, he's so talented as an animator, and he does a lot of the voice work himself in his films. World of Tomorrow he doesn't, but in a lot of his other movies he's doing the voices himself, and he's really good at that too. But I think he's one of the most talented filmmakers working right now, full stop. And it's just, it's so cool that he lives here in town that I can just go see these screenings when he has a new movie that comes out. And I've seen probably all of his movies at this point in a theater, which is cool because you just don't really get that opportunity with these short films that are released online or to home video. So it's been a cool experience being able to do that. I know he's trying to do that more. He's doing a little bit of a tour with Paper Trail to try to get it out to more cities and more theaters. So if you see that in your area, definitely seek it out. But I think it's cool that Hertzfeldt's so talented, and he's, I think, one of the greatest filmmakers alive right now. And you could watch his entire filmography in like 3 hours. Like it's not like this daunting task of going to like, oh yeah, go watch, even a modern film, go watch Yorgos Lanthimos and everything he's done. Well, that's like fucking 10 movies. Like that's a lot of shit to sort through. There's just really not that much stuff to go back through because he makes animated short films and they take forever and they're really tedious, and it takes 2 years to make a 20-minute movie. But because of that, he has these really rich films that get their point across in a very short amount of time. And if you're curious about him, you can go watch all of his stuff in an afternoon.
Is he doing digital animation now, or is he still doing traditional
animation? He is doing digital animation now. Okay. Paper Trail is actually not digital. I don't really want to give much away there, but it feels a little bit more like Rejected, and there's like actual paper involved.
Right.
But World of Tomorrow was the first film that he stopped doing hand drawn and started animating with PowerPoint. And he said in the movie screening last night that all his equipment he uses for animation is from like 2007, and he's never upgraded anything, which makes sense to me because he's held on to old techniques for a long time. Like a couple of years ago, he came out with a movie called Me, and they premiered that at Austin Film Society, and they did a Q&A where Mike Judge was hosting the Q&A, and he asked Don, he was like, hey, like, when was the last time you used an old animation camera? I think you might be the last guy that ever used one. And Hertzfeldt was like, yeah, I think maybe like 2011, finishing up It's Such a Beautiful Day. And Mike Judge goes, yeah, you're definitely the last guy. Like, no one else has ever used one of those since you did. So then he made the transition to digital animation, and he's just, stuck with those original tools, but he's learned how to use them really well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I feel like short animated film gets the short end of the stick. Like feature animation gets less than true features, but short film is like in documentaries, and it's like you get all the way to the bottom and it's like, oh, short animated film. Like that's, there's not really a spot to like, for it to come out right now.
Yeah.
Like, you don't run them in front of movies because people don't go to movies anymore. You put them on streaming and they kind of just get lost.
It's a shame too. I feel like there's not really a place for short films generally, but at least with short narrative or documentary films, it's a platform for those filmmakers to be able to get money and go make an actual feature length film, where I'm not sure is actually who is watching those, whether it's producers or studios that are kind of watching those short animated film or short live action films, but it does feel like that is a platform for a director to make something and then to get the money to make a feature film. Whereas like with short animated films, it doesn't really feel like there's a path out of that. And Hertzfeldt is one of the most talented filmmakers in the world, and he can't get any money to make his stuff. Now he's working on something with Ari Aster that's feature length. I'm like, that's fascinating. I'm really excited to see what happens there. But he's 30 years into his career, and he's just now getting an opportunity to do something like that. And he makes all his stuff independently and puts it out on his website and sells it for $4 for a short film kind of a thing. And that's he's been able to carve out a little niche living for himself doing that. But it doesn't feel like there's really a path forward from that to making feature-length animated films where, and that's the history and the start of animated films. It was like, Walt Disney making Mickey Mouse shorts, and like Looney Tunes and stuff like that is the short film kind of vibe. But it just seems like, there's not really a place for that anymore.
Tough times.
Yeah.
John, the rails have been set down. Let's try to stay.
I was going to bring up
recommend for the record, just in case that was unclear.
That's a
recommend for World of Tomorrow or anything Don
Hertzfeldt
Hertzfeldt related. Yeah.
Dixon also recommends short films, short animated features like that Kobe poem.
Oh God.
That's
fuck Kobe Bryant. The world is better for having lost him.
Oh my God.
Hot take.
Damn. Well, that's great. This will make me breaking the rails. I'm breaking from the rails immediately. No, I actually have a so I have two things to recommend. I'm legally, at the beginning of this, I said I didn't have something to recommend or refute and recommend and refute. I have two things to recommend. One of them is on the same Hertzfeldt note. I watched a movie. It came out in 2024, and I think it had kind of a touring in 2025. Dixon, I don't know if you went and saw this, but I saw Boys Go to Jupiter.
Everyone's on cop mode these days. Like, oh, don't hang out at the gas station. Don't hang out at the beach. Okay, what else is there?
Go around.
Oh my God. You're, Billy 5000.
Yeah, the human calculator.
I got an idea. Let's read your palm. See this? It's your money line. It says you're gonna be rich. Your lifeline is fractured. A big change is coming up. And then your love line. You have romance in your immediate future.
How did you get all of that from looking at my hand?
I made it up.
I have not seen this.
Which is directed by Julian Glander. It's also written by Julian Glander. It is a purely independent animated film, completely animated by Julian and one of his friends in in Blender, which is an open source animation tool. And it tells the story of this teenager in Florida named Billy 5000. That's like his name. He's known as like this human calculator from high school. Everybody's like, you're that smart kid. And he's dropped out to be part of the gig economy and try to make like $5,000 so that he can go live on his own and get away from his family and have his own independence. This movie is very like loose. I described it when I saw it yesterday, like afterwards thinking on how I would describe it. It is like if you took a bite out of a Jim Jarmusch story and then you like peppered it with comedic improv, and then you also took a tab of acid with Thomas the Tank Engine's like face on it, and like infused it with indie pop chill grooves. That's what this is like. It was a very strange experience for me. It's one of those movies where it's like, I didn't realize it was a hangout film. So when I entered it, I thought maybe there would be a pretty clear like character arc, beginning and end. And there are some conflicts that like come up and are brought in, but Julian is like on record as saying for his movie, he really like loves the moments in the movie less than the actual narrative arcs of the film. He doesn't want to save the cat as much as he wants to have moments when you come out of the movie, you're like, what the fuck was that about? Or like, who are these characters? What was that? And so this movie's like got a stacked cast. It's a lot of comedians. I think like Joe Pera shows up in it. It's got Julio Torres and Sarah Sherman and Janine Garofalo also. So like all these comedians have kind of come together with this indie film that's like 90 minutes long to just be this big head trip in Florida about a kid in a gig economy who accidentally comes into contact with like, I guess, an extraterrestrial worm thing that I don't even know how to describe what it's doing, but it's part of some like big Monsanto-esque conspiracy that he gets wrapped up in. A lot of it is just kind of floating along storytelling. Kids trying to go from point A to point B to make his money, but he's getting wrapped up in these other side stories and tangents, and his friends are also getting into their own antics. But yeah, the entire time that I watched it, I was like, I'm not high enough for it, I don't think. But I also know that I'm going to remember a lot of it. So it's just visually very striking for something worked on by just two people. It has a very unique and clear art style. Like it doesn't shift too far from what it's doing, which is it sort of has like an isometric view that follows from afar. And there's like stark, harsh lighting. So when I said like that Thomas the Tank Engine tab of acid, I meant like Thomas the Tank Engine's little like all those little miniatures in that show have such a certain gloss to them. And this movie has that same kind of like dollhouse observing from like God's eye kind of thing. It makes it have its own unique vibe. Very weird. But I wanted to flag it just because I heard about it. I saw a few trailers for it and then I just never knew when it came out. I didn't get to go see it. Now it's on HBO Max and there's a big push by the director Julian to like have folks watch it and experience it. And he's pretty on record as saying like, love it or hate it, I just want you to see my movie. I think that you'll have a unique experience with it. And I'm in agreement with that. Like, I still don't know how I feel about it, but I would recommend it to people. It's something I hadn't seen before and very strange. Any questions from the,
has he done other stuff?
He does other stuff for like Adult Swim. He's done like short films and some other, he does a lot of this same weird animation style. It seems to be his passion is like making these otherworldly sort of dollhouse views and scenes. That's pretty much all that I could pick up from after I saw it yesterday. Having no knowledge of him prior to it, then going in, it was like a shock to the system just watching this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it looks like he's worked on various. He worked on Joe Pera.
Yeah,
the Swim, stuff. Yeah, he did the animation for that. Okay.
I'm curious to hear about Joe Pera's character and what who did he play and does he seem just like Joe Pera or is he acting as someone who's not Joe Pera? And then also Elsie Fisher is in this, who is the girl from the movie 8th Grade that Bo Burnham directed a few years ago. And I haven't seen her in anything since then. I'm curious how she is in the film.
Yeah, they don't really draw attention to any of the characters being like either big names or being in other movies. And Elsie Fisher plays a character named Beatbox, who, as far as I can tell, I think her character just wears like a ski mask for the entirety of the movie and just beatboxes on demand. And that is just as simple as it can be. She's just part of the crew of people that Billy 5000 hangs out with. Yeah, it's like the whole movie, every time that there's dialogue between any characters, you just feel like you're there hanging out. And like the dialogue goes almost nowhere. It is very much like the Jim. I remember I was reminded of Stranger Than Paradise. It was like that kind of, oh, okay, we're just a bunch of like degenerates that are just chilling out, trying to make money and do whatever we can. Has its own little bits, charming, funny bits. And Joe Pera, of course, is very much a Joe Pera character. I believe his name is Herschel Cretaceous, and he works at a mini golf course that is based on the Cretaceous period. And he's like very proud of it and talks about his father being like the original founder of it and the important history that his father's given him. But he only shows up for, I would say, like tops like 5 minutes in the movie. So because it's got so many other weird, wild characters in between that. There's like a dude who works at a hot dog stand that has the world's biggest hot dog on top of it. And he just talks about how people typically don't even come to eat the hot dogs anymore. They just come to see the big dog. And he's like philosophizing about how we should all focus on our little dogs instead of the big dog sometimes. And like people's love of spectacle over their actual like need to grow. And
what is a hot dog if not spectacle?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they have weirdly deep conversations at times, and Billy 5000 is just kind of like, yeah, that's cool and all, but I like want to make my money. So there's like an interesting, I feel like it positions itself, very critical of hustle culture and corporate exploitation, but by way of being just a chill hangout film of being like, hey man, like gig economy sucks anyway. This shouldn't be something that you're like grinding your life away to do. But it does it in between these really improvised and chill conversations.
Yeah, this has the like Amazing World of Gumball feel.
Yeah,
I think this is definitely like a generational. I'm interested seeing like reviews of this because I'm betting that this is like a generational divide kind of movie.
Yeah,
and like younger people are gonna gel with this super hard, and older people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yes, it does feel like that. Part of me felt like maybe this was, if I didn't know any better, it felt like different excerpts from podcasts that were just animated, sort of like that Netflix series Midnight Gospel was. So when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know if that's true or not. But then watching some behind the scenes stuff, he's like, no, it's just, we just kind of let the comedians do what they were going to do and set up some of the context, and like, we really let it go and tried to see what we could get away with. And it's like, it just is, it ends up being interesting in a way that I don't even think I could give it. I didn't give it any star rating because I'm still thinking on it. But a very cool independent achievement.
Maybe that's the way kids talk these days. Like they're on a podcast.
I guess so. Yeah, probably.
It's all podcast conversations.
They consume constant content. I that makes me sad thinking that it would be like that, but maybe. But yeah, so Boys Go to Jupiter was, it's an interesting indie film. I'd recommend it to folks to check out. It's different than what other things you've seen animation wise. Just know going into it, like, was done on a very tight budget, was done by two people as a passion project. So the animation itself is not going to be like Pixar level quality, and it is framed as such to be like this kind of weird, quirky other world that you're exploring, and character animation sometimes dips in and out of being like different experiments that they're doing. So it has an experimental vibe to it. In contrast to that, the other thing that I wanted to bring up is like a recommend, and I know that we've talked about video games before. This is an interactive experience. It's kind of like that's splitting hairs, but there is an Annapurna produced game that came out. Annapurna has shifted away from doing more film production, although they are doing I Love Boosters, I believe. That's what they're going to drop soon. That Boots.
Very excited about that.
Yes, I'm super excited for that. And so I was kind of like looking around for something else that like, I was like, what else has Annapurna done recently? And they did just release a game called Mixtape last week, which is supposed to be set in the 90s about these three teens who are going to like do their last hurrah in high school before they all go their separate ways. And it's got a killer soundtrack, and it was just a very striking experience for me. I know that Ryan, you'd brought Expedition 33 on, and Dixon had asked, like, is this a game that I could play? And there was kind of like, I don't know. Mixtape is a game that I think that is approachable by everybody. It is basically an interactive animated movie. They have very on the rails moments of like teenage rebellion you get to participate in. Like you get to TP the principal's house, and like you get to skate through like a lot of dangerous roads and flip people off. They have a dedicated button to flip people off,
Nice.
which is fucking awesome. But it also has like really great surreal moments, of like if the character's experiencing heartbreak or there's a jubilation, you're using, it syncs up its soundtrack with named titles where the lead character, her name is Stacy Rockford. She'll tell you like what the title is, where it comes from, and how it fits into her life, and explains like her passion for music. But all of that music ends up tying into the environments and the elements. So it's got that kind of Spider-Verse quality to it, where certain abstracts like become very real, or like cars will float or fly depending upon the emotional vibes of things. If she's really mad, there are sequences where she's flipping shit off and it just explodes, like trash cans will explode or cars will explode and those kinds of things. In her journey it's all lived out through the day of their like final high school party. So they have flashbacks to other sequences that you get to like help kind of narrate and deliver by playing through it. I just found it to be very different than a lot of other games that I've played. And it's also written and directed by one person who is very passionate, who Dixon will not think is a real human because his name is Johnny Galvatron.
Nope. Definitely not real. Is that a Transformer?
I believe that he was previously Johnny Megatron as his actual legal name, but his working pseudonym is Johnny Galvatron.
Johnny Galvatron.
Yeah, Johnny Galvatron. He's made one other game before that was also Annapurna produced, and it is also heavily musically infused. It's like a rock opera thing. So I think that his passion is to not make movies and not make like, in-depth games, but to make interactive experiences that tap into music. So I really dug it. But it's raising some questions for me about like what constitutes as like indie, and also from a preservation standpoint. Like Boys Go to Jupiter has a Blu-ray, and Mixtape doesn't have any physical copy at all. And I worry about the preservation of like other arts now that I think about it. It's like made me think more about that, because I'm like, this has so many songs that are licensed. When those licenses are up, that digital copy is definitely going to like sink, and nobody will ever be able to experience this again.
Yeah, it's a real problem with digital games, because they disappear off of Steam or the PlayStation Store or whatever now. And if you downloaded them, you're lucky. But then, yeah, because of rights changing or whatever, it just is gone.
Yeah. So I don't know. The more that I think about it, the more I'm kind of just like bummed out that like we have to kind of endure that. Even if we can get movies onto a Blu-ray, games are like another frontier of things that like won't be preserved. Like at some point, the N64 cartridges will stop working and we won't be able to fucking buy those games anymore.
That's not true. They will never stop working. You just blow into them a million times and you slam them really hard down into the console, and eventually they always work. It may take 10 minutes of lots of effort, lots of air blowing into those cartridges, but they will work eventually.
It takes minutes of enhanced interrogation, but we'll get something out of them the American way.
They never stop working entirely. They just work less often as they age.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did spend several hours cleaning a whole bunch of NES cartridges that I bought last weekend.
You bought a bunch of NES cartridges last weekend?
Yes, I did.
Sick.
And it ranging from such excellent games as Caveman Games. If you've ever played that one,
Not familiar with that.
It's an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
To also like, and like Top Gun, like shitty games like that.
Oh,
and
the
then like
licensed games.
actually good games. Like I didn't have a copy of Contra, and
Oh.
I was missing. I had the other Castlevanias, but I traded Castlevania 2, which I know is the shitty one, but I like it when I was a kid. But I also got a Final Fantasy and a Dragon. Is it Dragon War? Whatever the first Dragon Quest is called.
All right, Ryan, this isn't about you.
No, I know. But there's some kids like unfinished RPG on there.
Oh,
because those have the old, like, the batteries were still working in those, and I was like, I think I
forgot
have
they
to
were
finish.
Yeah, they had like fucking battery powered shit.
Yeah, they have little tiny
God.
batteries on them. I was like, I feel like I have to finish this kid's game. Some kid got like halfway through Final Fantasy, and he doesn't know that I'm gonna carry the torch for him.
Please tell me that you got the greatest N64 game of all time, NFL Blitz.
I don't have a 64. I'm working my way up. I still need to get a 64.
Oh,
and a
these are
SNES.
NES cartridges.
These are NES.
I'll
I
mail you.
also got like a couple Genesis games and
This
I
is
have
a
some
Nintendo
Atari
family
games
on this podcast. We're part of the
Yeah.
mob.
No, I have my old consoles, but I need to get a 64 and an SNES. I have 64 games and SNES games. I just don't have a console to play them on.
All right,
But if
well,
I
we
see
got to get
some,
you
I'll pick them
Blitz,
up.
and we'll mail you.
Yeah,
an
but
N64.
I would get an FL Blitz. I did look at a copy of Mutant Football for the Sega Genesis.
What is that?
I thought about it. Mutant Football League. Yeah, it's like it
sounds like what
it's
it
definitely
is.
NFL Blitz. I think takes bits from it.
I was
'cause
going to
it's from
say,
then.
it
It was
sounds
from
like
the-
NFL Blitz.
They
Yes,
look like mutants
'cause you
in NFL
can-
Blitz.
Yeah, you play as like mutants or aliens or robots. Like the teams are made up of those, and they have
sick.
the different stats or whatever. But you constantly, like during the play and after the play, you're like beating each other up.
It sounds great.
And like there's an actual like play in your book that's murder the ref. Where you can call it like one time and you like snap the ball and then immediately kill the ref, and then the next ref comes in and gives you like free yardage.
Yeah.
Wow, what a tactic!
But like, yeah, the hockey one's fun. You can get like players trapped under the ice and they freeze to death, and like, yeah, it's actually
so much brutal things.
it's a pretty fun take on like just those old games like that.
See,
Anyway,
and this is all
John,
the
we
stuff
got
that-
off the rails.
This is all the stuff that everybody will miss because there's not an archival plan for any of these fucking games. But yeah, to like bring it home, I played Mixtape and then watched Boys Go to Jupiter same day, experienced two stories that are relatively independent. Although there's a lot more controversy around Mixtape, which it's not like something that everybody's heard about, but it's just like a lot of people that hate it because the person who owns Annapurna is an Ellison child, like an heir to the Ellison Foundation or estate or whatever. But yeah, like people were shitting on the game that was made by an independent studio for being distributed by like a Nepo baby. And I feel like that's kind of fucked up. I understand the disagreement and the need to be angry about it, but also the game itself and the people creating it are not the people distributing it. And so it's, I feel like there's kind of a conflation there that bleeds into discourse for no reason. Also, from all the
Yeah.
comments I've seen, people were like, we don't need your gay agenda. And as far as I know, the fucking game has nothing to do with being gay. So it's been really weird to see just people spin out for nothing and say that it's woke because it has women characters and a killer soundtrack and some other shit. But yeah.
Are you sure that the Ellisons didn't embed any pro-genocide propaganda into the game when they released it? Because they tend to do that shit.
They cut the scene where all the characters talked about how great Israel is.
Oh. No, it didn't make it to Final Cut.
Yeah, I guess not. It's just
That's why everyone's upset, apparently. Okay. I think it's also, founded one of the founders, but there are other founders, and there's a whole lot of other people at that company, and they're the publisher or producer of most of these things.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so far removed to like shit on someone who worked hard on, on something just because the money, part of the money somewhere up the chain ccame from something you don't
Yeah.
agree with.
yeah.
There's so many other things to be mad at the Ellisons about that seems weird to get your panties in a bunch about this game.
Well, and I'm like, so much of what Annapurna puts out is very much the opposite of what people would be upset with Ellison about.
Right.
So yeah, kind of weird that they're supporting so many things that are the opposite narrative, but then people are getting upset. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah.
It seems like a really shitty thing to do to some, there's a lot of that, like review bombing of movies and games for,
Yeah.
I swear, for clicks. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't play it, they heard about it, or they're angry at a person or whatever, and someone just got in the middle of it. Poor Galvatron.
Poor Galvatron. That is, yeah. We're sorry, Johnny Galvatron. But yeah, if you are out there and you're interested in that premise, or you look up a trailer for it, it has very gorgeous animation style. A lot of heart put into the characters' animations. Like they'll snap or clap along with music at certain segments in a way that's like, this is more detailed than they probably needed to put into what is a game. And so I feel like there's just a lot of passion behind it in the way that they've done it. And a lot of the criticism around it is really just all of this, like who produced and is distributing, and or I don't want woke in my game, which is dumb because these people didn't fucking play it. But if you're interested in playing it, I believe you can just like stream it through like either Xbox or PlayStation online, and you don't even need the console for it. But it's like a 3-hour game, so roughly like a movie, just sitting down and like enjoying and vibing with it. And it's one of those like
Flipping
have a good
people
time
off
kind of things. Yeah, flipping people off is the best. Telling people to fuck off. There is like a really wonderful moment where like one of the kids' moms answers the door and there's cops, and she's like, "Hey, it's like the pigs. They want to talk to you." And the cop is like, "Oh, well, I have the badge on. You can call me officer." And she's like, "Yeah, no, thanks." I was like, I like this. I like this game. This is fun. But yeah, so yeah, Mixtape and Boys Go to Jupiter are my two kind of indie picks that I just discovered and wanted to share. So I'd recommend them both.
Awesome. All right.
I tried to keep us on the rails, Ryan. You were the one who took us off, really.
I did really. You started to veer, and then I grabbed the wheel and went way off. I guess, since you guys are talking about independent stuff, I'll put us on the fully bankrolled by the machine.
All right.
and talk about The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh, God.
Runway. It's not just a magazine. It's a global icon. A winding road that brings us back together again.
Hello?
Well, look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
Sorry. Who is this? Do you know her? Do I know her?
I'm Andy Sachs. Andrea?
She was one of the Emilys.
One of the what?
I think maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, we watched The Devil Wears Prada. I don't remember why, just in that like looking for movies to watch. Darla was like, "Oh, that's something I've heard of," and Ella's old enough to watch it. And so they watched it, and I sat there to watch it to be like, all right, let me see what this is. And it's in the camp of movies where I'm like, there are things to appreciate from it, but it's a weird movie, and it's also weird to me why it's popular in any way. And it's weird to get a sequel 10 years later.
Yeah.
I think 10, something like that. That I guess people had been asking for. Meryl Streep is great. And like that part's all, I think that's maybe what like gets it through, because Anne Hathaway's a little always over the top in everything that she does. But Meryl Streep can like be over the top at the right amount and subtle at the right amount. And this is a character I can tell she actually likes playing. Like she has fun being this asshole.
Yeah.
Like very much gets into the character. I came in with like absolute like rock bottom expectations, because I think anything that's like just a cash grab sequel, something that's like way too many years afterwards, like, can they recapture the magic? Do they even remember, understand what the magic was in the first place? This is actually bringing back like the writer, director, and like the core cast. It seems like they all actually wanted to do it for whatever reason. My understanding was Meryl Streep was the one that they had to like eventually get on board. Like that was the hard part of getting her to get on board, because she doesn't really like making sequels. Mm-hmm. So also like a rare sequel from her. Interesting, the reviews are, if you go look, like seem to be dunking on it, but I think again this is another example of like the internet is looking for something to bitch about this week, and the movie came out, so they're bitching about it. I actually think as far as like sequels are concerned, it's a very fitting sequel. Like it actually did a really good job of being a lot like the first movie, but also like introducing some new things, feeling like this is probably where these characters could have gone to. Doing a few things that are kind of surprising. It patterns the first movie, but not in the like the Little Mermaid 2, where now the Little Mermaid has a daughter and she doesn't want her to go out of the ocean or into the ocean and meet a boy or what. And it's like the exact same fucking lesson from a character who should have already known that lesson. Like this patterns in it. It's kind of similar events where, you know, something going on with potentially one of them getting a job promotion or not. And there's these little betrayals within the politics of all of it. So I honestly like anyone that liked Devil Wears Prada 2, you'll have a good time. The fashion's there. The people that you like from before are there. As a whole, like, should you just go watch Devil Wears Prada or Devil Wears Prada 2? Not really. They're kind of like little cheesy, trashy films. I'm baffled as to how the first one really got that much. It's interesting that it's apparently like a pretty good take on the editor of Vogue, and they were trying really hard not to like explicitly say it was her, but totally did, and were really worried because so many people that were like didn't want to have anything to do with making the first film because they were afraid it would upset I don't remember what her name is. I can upset her because I'm not in the fashion industry in any way or advertising in any way. But they were worried that like she would blackball them and they couldn't get advertising or get anything done. But she ended up kind of like accepting the book and the film in a way of like, sure, like I'm powerful enough that I can be like, yeah, make fun of me and say I'm a horrible person, whatever. Just roll with it. Now, to the like interesting where my mind's at, I will now say the basic plot of The Devil Wears Prada 2. The Anne Hathaway's character, who from the previous movie wanted to be a journalist but like couldn't make it, couldn't get the job going, became an assistant at a fashion magazine just to have a job and maybe try to get some kind of in, sort of plays through the politics and finds her way, and then actually ends up getting that journalism job and kind of leaving it behind, but learned how to somewhat be cutthroat in this, in the world to get what she needs. The next movie, she has actually made it as a journalist, and some CEO somewhere decides to just get rid of the entire newspaper. So that's like our inciting event. Meanwhile, at the old fashion magazine, they had actually highlighted and ran a piece on what turns out to be sweatshop run clothing line. So now everyone's pissed at them, even though they didn't know that or didn't properly investigate that or whatever, but it sort of tarnishes their image. So some CEO high up above that decides that, oh, look, there's this journalist that got fired over here. I'll just put her, even though she doesn't have experience as an editor-in-chief, I'll make her editor-in-chief of the like features and have her go fix the magazine. And she used to work there, so great. And then, inevitably we get through these politics of her trying to help navigate the journalism of what it is today and how media and all these corporations buying and destroying things has slowly like made us lose the message of the things that we love. But then it scrambles at the end because one CEO, like the main CEO, passes away suddenly, and so his son steps up into the role and he's gonna like shutter the magazine, and so they rush to another CEO to try to get him to buy the magazine to fix it, but then find out he's gonna do a shitty job of it, and they rush to yet another CEO
what the fuck?
who honestly is like 100%. They have like a Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos's wife character, and the wife is like rich now because she divorced and she just has this money, and so she buys the magazine because she actually cares about it or whatever. But I really kind of came away being like, I don't think, like, wasn't the thing at the beginning of the movie about how this all sucked, about how we're like absorbing all these things and the CEOs are making these decisions that impact people's lives and our perception of media and the reality? But then it was like, yeah, we got saved at the end. It's the same thing I complain about with the Disney movies, where I'm like, they like glorify princesses and kings if they're like good, right?
Yeah,
it's this like benevolent dictator
we gotta find
thing
a good
of like
billionaire.
Yeah, we just had to find the good billionaire. And then in the same vein, the main Miranda is the main villain character, so to speak, that's the head of this magazine, and she's just an absolute asshole to everyone, but she gets fashion, and so everyone kind of just like bends to her whims as things continue on. But I'm like, that also kind of is the same lesson about like, well, if you're good at what you do, you can be an absolute asshole to absolutely everyone around you, and it's okay.
It just teaches you all the wrong lessons.
Yeah, I was like, it's still good because your heart's in the right place about like fashion. I'm like, is that the lesson at the end of all of this? Is like, benevolent dictators is the way to go. That will fix all of the world's problems, is just hand over all your problems to a person whose heart is in the right place to have all the power.
I think that's the lesson of most things, unfortunately, which is not ever the lesson that you should take away, but I feel like most media is pushing toward that. Humanity just loves to be told what to do. We just want to be told what to do by a good person.
We just need someone to follow. That's the true.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Plainview was, a pretty big piece of shit, but he raised a boy and he gave jobs to a whole town. That was pretty nice
Did he
of
raise
him.
that boy?
I thought the problem was that he didn't raise that boy. I explicitly remember something about abandoning him.
Yeah. He eventually came around and found Jesus and then used the cross to batter a man to death.
That was a bowling pin, John.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, sure. The American crucifix.
I don't know that I would expect a movie like this to be able to like actually create a scathing lesson about capitalism when it's like fully a capitalistic venture, right? Like that's what this is 100% a cash grab on everyone's part, and they all know it, and they're going into it, and they kind of like tug at the little heartstrings of the things they know bother us regular people, but then in the end, like remind you who's boss.
Yeah. These kind of movies, it does feel like these are like the cozy, I'm sick on a Saturday kind of watch where it's like, it's inconsequential to me. I'm not going to learn anything from it. But also, the original one, I remember learning about it because I never saw it, but I remember learning like, oh, it was based on that lady, because they had a whole interview with her where they were asking pointed questions about like, how do you feel to basically be shit on by this movie and this book? And she was like, I mean, it's like, fine. I've made peace with it. I don't really care. And I think that part of that is she probably has made a shit ton of money. Like, I mean, over the time between that and also it just like any publicity is good publicity kind of thing where like capitalism just eats everything and spews out dollars for like any negative press that you get, with the exception of like the Epstein files, which, that's
not that.
Don't look at that.
All the other stuff. Don't look at that.
Don't do any. Yeah. Don't do any of those things. But yeah, I was surprised to see this, and also I think Practical Magic 2 were like the two movies that are coming out.
There was an ad for Practical Magic 2.
Oh, God, I just don't really know I don't know what they're trying to do anymore, because it's like we're now scraping at like the early aughts, like late 90s movies, and I just don't know what sequels are even needed for those. It's all hollow.
And what's honestly weird is that the Devil Wears Prada 2 does work.
Yeah.
Like, and the first movie absolutely is like fashion like it's like an excuse to try to claim the fashion industry isn't a really amazing thing and is important for everybody for their everyday life.
Yeah.
Right. And this movie continues to play that up. It's like in an ever enclosing world where everything is getting consolidated and everything is absolute crap. Can't we still have fashion though? Like, that's important, right? Expensive, overpriced, name brand stuff. We need that, guys. But it makes sense that like this would be the troubles that the fashion industry would be having, right? That this catalog magazine would have in today's age, and how are they getting attention when you're scrolling past? Like, they talk about all the things that make sense that would be the problems that would flow naturally from it. And I'm like, okay, they did a good job, and there is kind of a reason to explore. And in the same vein, it's like these CEOs, people who are way too old to be in the position that they're in, like, when do they stop? Should they stop? Yes. Like, Right, it talks about that in the first movie. Miranda's character, like, when she walks in, she's like throws her coat down, and someone has to like run over and like grab it and put it somewhere for her because she's so beneath, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, like, HR has come in and is like trying to kind of continue to fix things and told her that like she's not allowed to do that anymore. And so then they show Meryl Streep in the background like trying to figure out how to put a coat on a hanger because it's like something she's never done before. Right? And she's just like bending to like, I have to bend to the, like, you know, to the company's bullshit will or whatever. And I was like, that's funny and interesting and realistic in a way, right? I'm like, that actually was a good, someone sat down and thought through something that I was like, that was a good thought. It's such a crap movie for this decent thinking to be in, but it's, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie would have benefited from a more biting tongue, like an Adam McKay kind of thing, if it's going to cover? I just think about Adam McKay when I think about industry now, because I'm like, I feel like Adam McKay could go like door to door and probably make a kind of funny movie that maybe it's a bit messy, but would have some really good takedowns of like the bullshit within each piece of like humanity. Yeah.
I feel like Devil Wears Prada is on such a thin line to being satirical that like you almost can't quite tell. I know that it's not, but you could push it ever so slightly into, instead of being a send up to fashion and journalism, it was an absolute satirical, like, this is all bullshit, right? But it's like, it's constantly, in the second movie even more so, filled in the background with models and people within the fashion industry, and they're running with it and showing like, here, get Anne Hathaway's looks or whatever, and all the promotional stuff. Like, it's fully in bed with fashion and it knows it and wants to be. But I'm like, it wouldn't take much to just click this slightly over the edge into full on satire. And I actually think that would be really awesome. I would go for that.
Yeah. This and Michael and Practical Magic 2. Hollywood's just cranking shit out. Yeah. Real bummer. All right, so you're refuting
in
this?
In the Practical Magic 2 ad, they actually, like, the whole time they're making it look like, I think, what they tried to make Practical Magic look like. And then there's one aside where one of them they're saying something about like, yeah, you don't want to be around us and the trouble that we get into. And then the other one's like, yeah, like that time we buried a guy in the yard.
Oh yeah. They do that as a punchline.
Yes.
The time we murdered a man.
That time we murdered a guy and buried him in our lawn.
So are you recommending this, Ryan?
Just throw away. I like, yeah, like honestly, like
what? This sounds like a refute, Ryan.
Yeah,
it was like a both.
Real. Okay.
I did both. I guess I did both.
You can't just do both.
I guess between this and Mortal Kombat 2, I would watch Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh, okay.
That seems like a low bar.
Pick this weekend.
Did you go see Mortal Kombat 2 though?
Look, I think what's tricky for me is like it's not okay. Devil Wears Prada 2 is not good. It's fine. It's fine. But what's tough for me is it sets a really high bar for how you can do a sequel to something 10 years later and still make something decent.
Yeah.
That is fitting to the original thing, which does not happen. Like, I was really shocked at how well of a job it did of being a sequel to a movie 10 years later. Like, that's something to be looked at. I will say,
it sounds like you're lowering the bar like I do when I'm talking.
I did read someone who said all sequels suck except for Shrek 2, and that was the hill that they're going to die on.
The first half of that, I thought it was Dixon, and then the second half, I knew it wasn't.
Yeah. Also, this is Kenneth Branagh, so that gets an extra thumbs up, right? Like, he's honestly like. What cracked me up is I saw so many people who were talking about like, oh, Kenneth Branagh was great in it or whatever. He's in like 5 scenes, 2 of which are opening the door for Anne Hathaway and saying hi and nothing else. He is really not a character in this movie, which is kind of funny.
They cut out all his soliloquies.
Yes. He gets like one moment to hug Meryl Streep that's supposed to be touching.
It's Kenneth Branagh's best moment on screen.
Kenneth, I just need you to recite your lines in a human way that seems, like create some empathy with the audience, create a connection with the other character that you're talking to, and he's just like grabbing a skull off screen and soliloquizing and you know, talking in grandiose Shakespearean language. Like, Kenneth,
and the camera's just like slowly moving out of frame, moving him out of frame.
Bad
It's just panning away.
And he refused to stop doing that. And so then they're like, fine, all you get to do is open the fucking door. We're cutting out all the rest of the shit.
Yes.
Now go change out of your stupid Hamlet outfit. Come back in a suit.
It was 30 fucking years ago, Kenneth. No one cares.
That was his high school that he peaked in. It still sounds like a refute, Ryan. It still sounds like, even if you're going to try to compare it, it's like grilling a congressman for a second.
As a movie, it's a refute. As an exercise in examining sequels, it's an interesting. It's like a recommend there. If
it's
someone
an
wants
interesting
to get into the
refute.
science of sequels. Yes. All right. That can bring us to a wrap. We have a recommend for anything Don Hertzfeldt.
Yep. Especially World of Tomorrow. A recommend for Boys Go to Jupiter.
Yep.
Give it a watch.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. A recommend for Mixtape.
Yeah, try it
You
out
haven't
if you're
finished
interested.
it yet? You're still working on it?
No, I finished it today. It was really great.
Oh, you finished it? Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And that was only a few hours.
Yeah.
And then refute of The Devil Wears Prada 2. And honestly, refute of Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
If you could just get the Meryl Streep scenes and play them just for fun, for laughs.
A Devil Wears
you could
Prada
do that.
Meryl Streep scene clip compilation on YouTube.
Yeah, it
There's a
just goes from
recommend
that,
for
and everything else is excised out.
Says a lot about a movie when you're like, if you can just watch the good parts of it, it's actually, recommended.
It's just like Meryl Streep, and then it's like Kenneth Branagh starting to open a door and his mouth starts to open, and then it cuts back to Meryl Streep.
The Branagh cut.
All right. Nice. I've been your host tonight, Ryan King. Joining us, as always,
John Garcia. And thanks, Dixon, for putting up with my bullshit ahead of time. I did tell you I was going to break the rules, and I did break the rules, but I tried to do it concisely. I just want the record to show.
You rambled for hours.
That's not true. Ryan rambled about mutant football, and you were interested.
You know that I'm a sucker for NFL Blitz-related content, John. You know that.
Yes. Yeah, we know how to get it hooking in. And also joining us,
Michael Dixon. Thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.